Welcome to today's episode of the Foxhole Report, which is going to be a special look at something called the Emoluments Clause. What is the Emoluments Clause, and why is everybody suddenly talking about it like it's a fresh way to block Donald Trump from taking presidency of the United States? In the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8 says that no title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of the Congress, accept of any present emolument, office, or title of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. Now, how does this apply to Donald Trump? Everyone's saying that because he's not going to get rid of his businesses, that he's somehow in violation of this rule, even though he hasn't accepted anything. There's no evidence of him accepting anything. This just seems to be yet another big, hot ball of fake news designed to lead you down a path that really it doesn't have a lot of truth to it. Let's see what some alternative opinions are, assuming that we're going to apply this clause of the Constitution to Donald J. Trump and his businesses. We're going to go check out a professor of law at Maynooth University, a gentleman named Seth Barrett Tillman. Now, what does he have to say about it? Tillman says there's three good reasons that this clause doesn't really apply to the President of the United States. He says the Constitution does not rely on generalized office language to refer to the President and Vice President. Where a provision is meant to apply to such apex or elected officials, the provision expressly names those officials. For example, the impeachment clause applies to the President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States. Furthermore, the Foreign Gifts Clause was given an early construction by George Washington. While he was president, Washington received two gifts from officials of the French government, including a diplomatic gift from the French ambassador. Washington accepted the gifts, he kept the gifts, and he never asked for or received congressional consent. There's no record of any anti-administration congressman or senator criticizing the president's conduct. As Professor Akhil Amar has reminded us, the precedents set by George Washington and his administration deserve special deference in regard to both foreign affairs and presidential etiquette. And lastly, finally, in 1792, again during the Washington administration, the Senate ordered the Secretary of the Treasury, Alexander Hamilton, to supply a list of persons holding office under the United States and their salaries. Hamilton's 90-page responsive list included appointed officers in each of the three branches, but did not include any elected officials in any branch. In other words, officers under the United States are appointed. By contrast, the president is elected, so he's not an officer under the United States. Thus, the Foreign Gifts Clause and its operative office under United States language does not apply to the presidency. He's using the Foreign Gifts Clause as just another way to talk about emoluments. Now, Andrew Napolitano...
All the laws that prohibit self-dealing and prohibit conflicts of interest for everybody that works for the federal government, from a janitor to a four-star general, cover everyone except the president and the vice president.
Really?
So none of the laws that govern senators and members of Congress and members of the cabinet pertain to the president or to the vice president.
So let me give you an example. So you have a head of state that come to Washington. You're the president. He's staying at your hotel down the street. And is that a conflict of interest on its face?
That is not a conflict of interest on its face, because Donald Trump does not personally own the hotel as Donald Trump.
So far, all of this has really just been built on the potential for Donald Trump as president to receive bribes from foreign governments in order to gain access to the U.S. federal government. Now, these are all speculative. There's not really any hard evidence to suggest that he's done anything like that. Is there evidence to suggest that anyone in recent news has taken bribes from other nations to gain access to power in the United States? Well, let's ask Glenn Greenwald about this. So it looks like the Clinton Foundation has actually received gifts, cash, and other things from the Saudi regime, amongst others. And why would they be doing that? Do they believe in the mission of the Clinton Foundation, which is largely to empower women? Probably not, considering the Saudis don't even want women driving. So what is the deal here? Greenwald goes on. That the Clinton Foundation has done some good work is beyond dispute, but the fact has exactly nothing to do with the profound ethical problems and corruption threats raised by the way its funds have been raised. Hillary Clinton was America's chief diplomat, and tyrannical regimes such as the Saudis and Qataris jointly donated tens of millions of dollars to an organization run by her family and operated in its name, one whose works has been a prominent feature of her public persona. That extremely valuable opportunity to curry favor with the Clintons and to secure access to them continues as she runs for president. Although it did not give while she was Secretary of State, the Saudi regime by itself has donated between $10 million and $25 million to the Clinton Foundation, with donations coming as late as 2014 as she prepared for her presidential run. A group called Friends of Saudi Arabia, co-founded by a Saudi prince, gave an additional amount between $1 million and $5 million. The Clinton Foundation says that between $1 million and $5 million was also donated by the state of Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and the government of Brunei. The state of Kuwait has donated between $5 million and $10 million. Theoretically, one could say that these regimes, among the most repressive and aggressive in the world, are donating because they deeply believe in the charitable work of the Clinton Foundation and want to help those in need. Is there a single person on the planet who actually believes this? Is Clinton loyalty really so strong that people are going to argue with a straight face that the reason the Saudi, Qatari, Kuwaiti, and Emirates regimes have donated large amounts of money to the Clinton Foundation is because those regimes simply want to help the foundation achieve its magnanimous goals? I think you can answer that one for yourself. Thanks for watching. Don't let the fake news pull the wool over your eyes, or your friends' eyes, or your family's eyes. Speak up about these facts, and don't forget to share and subscribe to Red Streak Media.